In the center of the Old World lies a region that defies a single definition. It is a place where the echoes of empires meet the vibrant pulse of the modern age. A landscape shaped by the rugged peaks of the Alps and the sun-drenched shores of the Adriatic. Welcome to a journey through the true heart of Europe. We begin in Slovenia, a hidden emerald haven where nature remains untouched and pristine. From there, we scale the Imperial heights of Austria, a land of Alpine majesty and timeless elegance. We follow the horizon south to Croatia, where the Mediterranean sun illuminates thousands of years of history along a crystalline coast. Finally, we venture into the Czech Republic, the continent's golden center, where fairy tale castles and ancient legends come to life. These are different nations, but distinct identities. One extraordinary story. This is the soul of the continent. This is Central Europe. Slovenia is the only country in the world that has the word love hidden in its name. Nestled at the crossroads of the Mediterranean, the Alps, and the Pannonian Basin, this small nation is often called Europe in miniature. For those living in the United States, imagine combining the jagged peaks of Glacier National Park with the turquoise waters of the Caribbean and the rolling vineyards of Napa Valley. All within a space smaller than New Jersey. Most travelers fly right over it on their way to Italy or Austria, completely unaware that they are missing the greenest heart of the continent. Slovenia is a place where you can ski in the morning and dip your toes in the Adriatic Sea by sunset. It is a land of emerald rivers, mysterious caves, and fairy tale castles that looked like they were pulled straight from a Disney storyboard. In this journey, we are going to explore why this silent neighbor of the Alps has become the ultimate destination for those seeking silence, adventure, and raw natural beauty. The capital city, Ljubljana, is often described as a living room for its citizens. The name itself translates closely to the beloved. Unlike the chaotic, car-choked capitals of Western Europe, the center of Ljubljana is a pedestrian paradise. The soul of the city is the Ljubljanica River, lined with outdoor cafes and unique bridges. The most famous is the Triple Bridge, a masterpiece by the architect Jos Plečnik. He is to Slovenia what Frank Lloyd Wright is to America. High above the city sits the Ljubljana castle, a fortress that has guarded these lands for centuries. From the ramparts, you can see clear across the rooftops to the snowy peaks of the Alps on the horizon. The vibe here is relaxed and sophisticated. You will not find massive skyscrapers or grimy subways. Instead, you find open-air markets selling local honey, artisanal dragon-themed crafts, and a culture that values the slow life. It is a city that feels like a village, where everyone seems to know their neighbor. And the air smells of fresh roasted coffee and linden trees. If you have ever seen a postcard of Slovenia, it was likely Lake Bled. It is the definition of a fairy tale. In the middle of a glacial blue lake sits a tiny island with a 17th century church. Local legend says that if you ring the church bell, your wishes will come true. To get there, you ride in a platna, a traditional wooden boat operated by a single rower. A profession handed down through generations. Just above the lake, a medieval castle clings to a sheer cliff, offering the best view in the country. But for those who find Bled too crowded, Lake Bohemian is the raw, wild alternative. Located just a short drive away within the Triglav National Park, Bohemian is larger, deeper, and much more mysterious. It is surrounded by the high walls of the Julian Alps. This is where the locals go to hike, kayak, and find true solitude. The water is so clear you can see trout swimming 10 feet below the surface. If you are enjoying this look at Europe's best kept secret, hit the like button right now. It helps our expedition reach more travelers just like you. Deep in the heart of the Julian Alps flows the Soka River, often called the Emerald Beauty. It is one of the few rivers in the world that maintains a distinct turquoise or emerald green color for its entire length. The water is crystal clear, but ice cold, originating from the karst springs of the mountains. This valley is the adventure capital of Slovenia. People come from all over the world for whitewater rafting, canyoning, and paragliding. But the valley also carries a heavy history. During World War I, this was the site of the Isonzo Front, one of the bloodiest mountain battles in human history. Ernest Hemingway actually based his famous novel, A Farewell to Arms, on the events that took place in these very mountains. Today, the trenches and fortifications remain as a silent museum under the open sky, contrasting the peaceful beauty of the river with the scars of the past. Slovenia is a land of two worlds. The one above ground, and the massive labyrinth below. The country sits on karst topography, a term that actually originated here. There are over 10,000 caves in Slovenia. The most famous is Postojna cave, which features the world's only double-track underground railway. You board a small train that whisks you miles into the earth, through halls filled with massive stalagmites and stalagmites that have been forming for millions of years. Deep inside, you might meet the Alm, a strange, blind salamander often called the human fish or a baby dragon. If Postojna is a palace, Skokian caves are a canyon from a fantasy novel. Skokian is a UNESCO World Heritage Site featuring a massive underground river. Standing on a bridge 100 feet above a roaring underground river in total darkness is an experience that rivals any Grand Canyon vista. To finish our journey, we head south to the short but stunning coastline. Slovenia only has about 29 miles of coast, but it makes the most of it. The crown jewel is Piran, a Venetian-style town that sits on a narrow peninsula jutting into the Adriatic Sea. With its narrow orange-roofed houses and marble squares, it feels more like Italy than Central Europe. The air here is salty and warm, a complete contrast to the snowy peaks we started with. Slovenia is a country that proves size isn't everything. It is a place that has protected its nature, its history, and its soul. From the dragons of Ljubljana to the salt pans of Seclovia, it remains a destination for the curious traveler. Thank you for exploring the world with us. If you want to see more deep dives into the world's most fascinating places, make sure to subscribe to Expedition Atlas and turn on notifications. The world is huge, and we are just getting started. Close your eyes and imagine a place where time seems to follow the rhythm of a waltz. This is Austria. From the grand coffee houses of Vienna, where world-altering ideas were born over a single espresso, to the silent, emerald valleys of the Tyrol, where the air is so pure it feels like a secret. Today, we aren't just visiting a country, we are stepping into a masterpiece. Welcome to the heart of Europe. Welcome to Austria. We begin our journey in Vienna, a city that consistently ranks as the most livable in the world. For over 600 years, the Habsburg dynasty ruled from here, shaping not just Austria, but the entire map of Europe. As you walk down the Ringstrasse, the grand circular boulevard, you are surrounded by architectural giants, the State Opera, the Parliament, and the City Hall. Each stone tells a story of power, art, and an obsession with beauty. Let's slow down and step into a place where time is ignored. The Viennese coffee house. In Vienna, a cafe is not a place to grab a quick drink. It is your extended living room. Since the late 17th century, these institutions have been the meeting points for thinkers like Sigmund Freud and Leon Trotsky. You order one Melange, a classic Viennese coffee with steamed milk, and you have the right to sit for hours. It is the art of Gemütlichkeit, a word that describes a unique Austrian sense of coziness and well-being. A short tram ride brings us to the crown jewel, Schönbrunn Palace. This was the summer residence of the emperors. With its deep yellow facade, known as Schönbrunn Yellow, it stands as a rival to Versailles. There are over 1,400 rooms here. Perhaps the most famous resident was Empress Elizabeth, affectionately known as Sissy. Her beauty and tragic life have become a legend that still haunts these gardens. But Vienna is also the capital of music. More famous composers have lived here than in any other city in the world. Mozart, Beethoven, Strauss, and Brahms all called Vienna home. The city hosts over 400 balls every year. The tradition of the Viennese waltz is alive and well. If you listen closely at night, near the Musikverein, you can almost hear the ghost of a symphony carried on the wind. Leaving the capital, we follow the Danube River west into the Warco Valley. This is a land of steep vineyards and medieval ruins. High above the river sits Melk Abbey, a yellow-gold Benedictine monastery that looks more like a palace than a place of worship. Its library contains thousands of ancient manuscripts, preserved for centuries by monks who dedicated their lives to knowledge. Continuing west, we reach Salzburg, pores framed by the Alps and divided by the Salzach River. Salzburg is often called the Rome of the North. The city's silhouette is dominated by the Hohensalzburg fortress. Built in 1077, it is one of the largest and best preserved medieval castles in Europe. It has never been taken by force, a silent guardian over the city of Salt. Salzburg is synonymous with two things: Wolfgang, Amadeus, Mozart, and the sound of music. You can visit the very house where Mozart was born in 1756. Just across the river, The Mirabelle Gardens offer a floral paradise where the Doremi song was filmed. But beyond the movies, Salzburg is a place of deep spiritual quiet. Its Baroque churches and narrow cobblestone alleys, like the Adriatic Sea, invite you to lose yourself in the 18th century. We move deeper into the mountains, into the region of Salzkammergut, the Lake District. There are over 70 lakes here, each with its own character. Lake Wolfgangsee, Lake Attersee, and the mysterious Lake Tronsee. But one village stands above all others in the global imagination. Hallstatt is tucked so tightly between the mountains and the water that some houses can only be reached by boat or via narrow paths. It is so beautiful that a full-scale replica was built in China. But Hallstatt's beauty is built on salt. For 7,000 years, humans have mined white gold from the mountains above the village. Walking through Hallstatt feels like walking through a fairy tale, but it is a living community. The wooden balconies are overflowing with geraniums, and the church bells echo across the water. Take a moment to sit by the lake. Watch the swans glide through the reflection of the Alpine peaks. In this place, the rush of the modern world feels thousands of miles away. Now, the terrain rises. We enter Tyrol. This is the rugged heart of Austria. Here, the culture is defined by the vertical world. We begin in Innsbruck, the only major city in the world where you can go from a medieval city center to a mountain peak at 2,000 meters in just 20 minutes. The golden roof, adorned with over 2,000 fire-gilded copper tiles, marks the center of the old town, but the real star is the Nordkette mountain range that towers over the streets. For those who seek the true wild, we drive the Grossglockner High Alpine Road. This is more than a road. It is an engineering marvel. It winds through 36 hairpin bends, climbing into the realm of eternal ice. At the top, you face the Grossglockner, Austria's highest peak at 3,798 meters. Below it lies the Pasteur Glacier. As the glacier melts due to a changing climate, it reminds us of the fragility of this magnificent landscape. The air here is thin, cold, and incredibly silent. Our journey through Austria comes to an end, but the feeling of this land remains. Austria is a country that knows how to preserve its past without being trapped by it. It is a place where you can spend the morning in a world-class museum and the afternoon on a silent mountain ridge. It is the land of the Lebensgel, the joy of living. Whether it's the taste of a fresh sachertorte, the sound of a distant cowbell in a meadow, or the awe of standing before a glacier, Austria invites you to breathe. It reminds us that beauty is not an ornament, but a necessity for the soul. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Until our paths cross again in the heart of the Alps. Goodbye. There is a place where the logic of geography seems to fail. A country shaped like a crescent moon, clutching the turquoise hem of the Adriatic Sea, while its heart rests deep in the Danubian plains. Most know it as a summer postcard backdrop of terracotta roofs and limestone cliffs. But look closer. This land has been the ultimate frontier for 3 millennia. It is the exact point where the Mediterranean world meets the Slavic soul, and where the Roman Empire never truly died. From the walled citadels that guarded the west to the rugged peaks that defied conquerors. This is the story of a nation that survived being at the crossroads of every major empire in human history. To understand Europe, you must understand this borderland. A place where history is written in stone, salt, and blood. This is not just a travel destination. It is a living museum of the human spirit's resilience. In the next minutes, we will uncover the layers of this frontier, examining how a small nation managed to preserve its identity while standing in the path of giants. To understand Croatia, you must first analyze its impossible shape. Looking at a map, the country appears to wrap itself around neighboring Bosnia and Herzegovina, creating a massive coastline that seems disproportionate to its size. This is a country of 3 distinct worlds, each with its own climate, dialect, and soul. In the north and east lies the Pannonian Basin, the golden plains of Slovenia. Here, the rhythm of life is dictated by the great rivers, the Danube, the Drava, and the Sava. It is a land of endless horizons and rich soil that has fed empires for centuries, from the Romans to the Austro-Hungarians. But as you move south, the earth rises violently. The Adriatic Alps form a limestone spine, a formidable barrier of white rock and dark forests. This is the karst heartland, a wilderness that feels light years away from the sun-drenched coast. It is a place of bears, wolves, and silent mountain peaks. And then there is the third world, the Adriatic. Over 1,000 islands are scattered like jewels across the clearest water in Europe. This geography dictated the fate of the people. While the coast looked toward Venice and Rome, the interior looked toward Vienna and Budapest. This duality created a culture that is simultaneously Central European and Mediterranean. A place where you can find Viennese coffee culture just a few hours' drive from ancient olive groves that have stood for 2,000 years. Long before the modern state existed, the Roman Empire recognized this coast as the strategic key to the Adriatic. The province of Dalmatia was a jewel in the Roman crown, providing soldiers, emperors, and resources. In the northern city of Pula, one of the world's best preserved Roman amphitheaters still stands. Unlike the Colosseum in Rome, the Pula Arena retains its four side towers, standing as a massive stone oval that once held 20,000 spectators. It is a haunting reminder of the sheer scale of Roman engineering. But the Roman influence is perhaps most surreal in the city of Split. In the year 305 AD, the Emperor Diocletian, the only Roman emperor to ever voluntarily retire, chose a quiet bay here to build his massive retirement palace. He wanted to be near his birthplace, but he also wanted a fortress capable of withstanding any siege. Today, that palace isn't a museum or a ruin behind velvet ropes. It is the living, breathing heart of the city. Over 3,000 people still live within its ancient walls. Modern apartments are built directly into Roman stone. Laundry hangs over 1,700-year-old columns. People drink their morning espresso on the same steps where Roman praetorians once stood guard. It is a seamless blend of the ancient and the mundane, where history isn't something you look at, it's something you live in. The limestone walls have absorbed the stories of countless generations, yet they remain as solid as the day they were quarried. Further south, tucked between the mountains and the sea, lies Dubrovnik, the pearl of the Adriatic. For centuries, this was the Republic of Ragusa, a tiny but incredibly wealthy city-state. Surrounded by giants, the Ottoman Empire to the east and the Venetian Republic to the west, Dubrovnik survived not through military might, but through masterclass diplomacy and trade. Its walls, nearly 2 kilometers of solid stone, were built and reinforced over 500 years. They have never been breached by an invading army, standing as a monument to human persistence. The people of Dubrovnik were visionaries. Their motto was Libertas, liberty. In 1416, while much of the world still relied on forced labor, the Republic of Ragusa became one of the first places on earth to officially abolish slavery, calling it shameful and against all humanity. They established a quarantine system for sailors long before modern medicine understood germs, protecting their citizens from the plagues that ravaged Europe. This spirit of independence and intellect is woven into the very DNA of Croatia. If you're finding value in this investigation of historical frontiers, consider subscribing to Expedition Atlas as we continue to document the globe's most significant stories. Dubrovnik was a pioneer, and today it remains a testament to what a small group of people can achieve when they value freedom and intelligence above all else. Leaving the salt air behind and moving into the misty mountains of the interior, we find a landscape that feels like it belongs in a fantasy novel. Plitvice Lakes National Park is a geological miracle. It is a labyrinth of 16 terraced lakes, all connected by a series of cascading waterfalls and emerald pools. But the real magic is invisible. The entire region is built on karst, a type of landscape where the bedrock is soluble. Over millions of years, water has dissolved the limestone, creating a subterranean world of caves and rivers that disappear and reappear miles away. At Plitvice, a unique biological process occurs. A special type of moss and algae helps create tufa or travertine barriers. These are essentially living rocks that grow a few centimeters every year, constantly changing the shape of the waterfalls. It is one of the few places on Earth where the landscape is literally growing before your eyes. Nearby, at Croatia National Park, the water thunders over massive falls like Skredinsky Book, where the power of the river was once used to run the first alternating current hydroelectric power plant in Europe. Nature here isn't just a view, it's a force that has dictated human settlement and inspired legends for centuries. Croatia's impact on the world is often hidden in plain sight. Take, for example, the necktie. In the 17th century, Croatian mercenaries serving in France wore distinctive scarves tied around their necks. The French were fascinated by this Croatian style, which they called La Cravate. Today, billions of people wear this Croatian invention to work every day, unaware of its military origins on the frontiers of Europe. But the country's greatest intellectual gift to humanity was born in the small village of Smiljan in 1856. His name was Nikola Tesla. Born during a lightning storm on a rugged frontier, Tesla would go on to invent the modern world. He harnessed the power of alternating current, dreamed of wireless communication, and laid the foundation for almost everything we use today. Tesla often said he was equally proud of his Serbian heritage and his Croatian homeland. Today, that tradition of innovation continues with companies like Rimac, which produces the world's most advanced electric hypercars. These machines are built just miles from where ancient empires once fought, proving that the Croatian spirit of innovation is as resilient as its stone walls. From the cravat to the electric motor, this land has always been a place where necessity meets brilliant invention. The 20th century was a trial by fire for this nation. Following the collapse of Yugoslavia, Croatia had to fight a devastating war for its independence in the 1990s. The images of the besieged city of Vukovar and the shelling of Dubrovnik are still fresh in the memory of its people. But the story of the last few decades is one of an incredible rebirth. Croatia has transformed itself into a stable democracy, a member of the European Union and one of the safest countries in the world. Whether it is the truffle-rich forests of Istra, which resemble a more rugged Tuscany, or the sea organ in Zadaren, architectural masterpiece that uses the waves to play hauntingly beautiful music. Croatia is a country that has mastered the art of living. It is a place where history is respected, but the future is embraced. As the sun sets over the Adriatic, a sunset that Alfred Hitchcock called the most beautiful in the world, you realize that Croatia is not just a point on a map. It is a frontier of the soul, a place that reminds us that even after centuries of conflict, beauty and peace can prevail. Thank you for traveling with us through the heart of the Adriatic. If you want to support our mission of documenting the world's most compelling destinations, subscribe to Expedition Atlas and hit the notification bell. Until next time, keep exploring. Landlocked in the very center of the European continent lies a nation that has survived the rise and fall of empires, the flames of religious wars, and the weight of the Iron Curtain. This is the Czech Republic, or Czechia, a land where history isn't just found in books, but is written into the stone of every cobblestone street and the spire of every Gothic cathedral. To understand this place, one must look beyond the postcard-perfect views of Prague. We are looking at a territory shaped by the Bohemian Massif, a natural fortress of mountains that has protected a unique Slavic culture for over a millennium. For centuries, this was the crown jewel of the Holy Roman Empire. Today, it stands as a bridge between the East and the West. maintaining a fierce sense of independence and a dry, resilient wit. In this expedition, we will travel from the medieval corridors of the capital to the bone-chilling ossuaries of Kutna Hora. Through the mystical rock cities of Bohemian Switzerland, and into the brewing vats of Pilsen. This is a journey through a landscape of 10,000 castles and a history that changed the world, more times than you might realize. Prague is often called the city of 100 spires. But that is a modest understatement. It is an architectural museum that escaped the heavy bombing of World War II, leaving its Romanesque foundations and Baroque facades intact. The Prague Castle, a sprawling complex dating back to the 9th century, holds the Guinness World Record as the largest ancient castle in the world. It served as the seat of power for kings of Bohemia and Holy Roman emperors. Walking through its gates, you encounter the St. Vitus Cathedral, a masterpiece of Gothic architecture that took nearly 600 years to complete. Notice the gargoyles staring down. They are guardians of a history that saw the 1618 defenestration of Prague, an event where officials were thrown out of windows, triggering the devastating 30 Years' War. Moving down to the Old Town Square, the astronomical clock, or horloge, has been tracking the movement of planets and the sun since 1410. It is the oldest clock of its kind still in operation. Every hour, the 12 apostles emerge, a mechanical performance that has captivated crowds for 6 centuries. But the true soul of the city is found on the Charles Bridge, lined with 30 statues of saints. This stone bridge was the only way to cross the Vltava River for centuries, connecting the castle to the old trade routes of Europe. Leaving the capital, the landscape shifts toward the eerie and the sublime. In the town of Kutna Hora, we find the Sedlik Ossuary. It is a small chapel, but inside, the decor is made entirely of human bones. Over 40,000 skeletons are arranged into chandeliers, coats of arms, and pyramids. A memento mori reminding visitors of the fleeting nature of life. This was once the silver mining capital of Europe, a city so wealthy it rivaled Prague. The wealth of the Bohemian kings was literally pulled from these dark tunnels. Further north, the landscape transforms into a fantasy realm known as Bohemian Switzerland. Here, the Prov Ika Brana stands as Europe's largest natural sandstone arch. It is a place of mist and jagged rock formations that inspired the chronicles of Narnia. But the history here is also marked by heavy industry and the scars of the 20th century. This region was part of the Sudetenland, the territory annexed by Nazi Germany in 1938, leading to the eventual occupation of the entire country. The Czech people endured, their identity preserved through their language and their art. Even during the dark years of communism after 1948, the spirit of Bohemia remained unbroken. Culminating in the Velvet Revolution of 1989, a non-violent transition that saw a playwright, Václav Havel, become president. In the Czech Republic, beer is not just a drink. It is a national heritage. This country has the highest beer consumption per capita in the world, and for good reason. In 1842, the city of Pilsen gave birth to the Pilsner Urquell, the world's first golden lager. Before this, beer was dark and cloudy. The Pilsner method revolutionized brewing globally, and today, 9 out of 10 beers in the world are based on this original Czech recipe. The town of Eskbudějovice is the home of the original Budweiser, a source of a century-long trademark dispute with the American giant. But the culture goes deeper than the tavern. This is the land of Franz Kafka, whose surreal and bureaucratic nightmares were inspired by the winding streets of Prague. It is the home of Antonin Dvořák, whose New World Symphony carried the sounds of Bohemia to the United States. Even the word dollar has Czech roots, originating from the Toller coins minted in the town of Jakimov. This influence stretches into science as well. Gregor Mendel, the father of genetics, conducted his pea plant experiments in a monastery in Brno. From the industrial heritage of Skoda Auto to the intricate glass work of Bohemian crystal, the Czech contribution to global industry is immense. If you are enjoying this exploration of the Czech Republic, please leave a like on the video. It helps our expedition reach more history enthusiasts around the world. East of Bohemia lies Moravia, a region of rolling vineyards and underground wonders. While Bohemia is famous for beer, Moravia is the land of wine. The city of Brno, the second largest in the country, offers a different pace. It is a hub of functionalist architecture and high-tech innovation, often called the Silicon Valley of Central Europe. Beneath the city lies the second largest ossuary in Europe and a labyrinth of medieval cellars. To the south, the Lednes Voltas cultural landscape represents one of the largest artificial landscapes in the world. A massive parkland dotted with neo-Gothic castles and Roman-style ruins. But modern Czechia is also defined by its nature. The Croconos Mountains host the highest peak Snežka and serve as a winter playground. In the west, the Spa Triangle of Karlovy Vary has hosted royalty and celebrities for centuries. Famous for its thermal springs and grand colonnades. Today, the country is a member of the European Union and NATO. A stable and prosperous democracy. Yet, it retains its own currency, the koruna, and a healthy skepticism of outside authority. It is a nation that values its privacy, its forests, and its stories. The Czech Republic is a reminder that size does not dictate influence. From a small territory in Central Europe came the ideas, the art, and the industry that helped define the modern era. Whether you are standing in the shadows of a 1,000-year-old castle or walking through the high-tech corridors of Brno, you are witnessing a culture that refused to be erased. This has been a look at the resilience and beauty of the Czech lands. The world is vast, and there are many more stories to uncover. If you want to continue exploring the hidden corners of our planet, subscribe to Expedition Atlas. We travel through history, geography, and the human spirit to bring you the full picture of the places we call home. Thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next journey.